Let's go, Big Blue! It's the New York Giants squad. Everything New York Giants every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the G-Men. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. The Giants Squad Show starts now.
All right, what a game it was. The Giants, unfortunately, are 0-2, but aren't we all? My name is Jay Berman. Welcome into the New York Giants Squad Show. Today, the squad is two. Me and Brandon Olson. Brandon, what is up? Brandon, of course, covers the Giants for SI.com. As we said, an unforgettable day for so many good reasons, for so many bad reasons, for so many reasons in between. I don't even know where to start.
I can start with I am so happy to watch Russell Wilson go out there and ball a little bit. I get the Jackson Darts, the shiny new toy thing that we're doing. And we kind of spoke about this a bit last week after the first game. I don't think it's I don't think it's time to go to Jackson Dart. And I do think that a lot of the talk was a little bit premature of like, oh, well, you know, you don't have much time. Do you go to Jackson Dart now? And then Russell Wilson kind of came out and he answered. He looked like, you know, a more confident Russell Wilson, which I don't think you see often from a guy who spent the majority of the game on his back last week. But he looked like a more confident Russell Wilson. The deep ball was there. He was connecting on them, and he was letting them fly out there. So I do think seeing Russell Wilson perform like Russell Wilson, because yeah, he's not Seahawks Russell Wilson, but I remember writing about this during the spring and the summer. Like, he's still good. He's not great, but he's still good. He's still a very capable starting quarterback in this league if you give him time and if you give him protection. And for the most part, he had that this week.
As we dive in, let's tell you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Obviously, it begins and ends with the quarterback, and that's where we'll start today's show. Russell Wilson, who, believe it or not, had never thrown for 450 yards, but it wasn't enough, especially in overtime on the pick, which we all said Russ was back. And as soon as he threw that, we said, Russ is gone again.
Yeah, they went to the well one too many times. just one too many there. I'm not sure if there was some kind of miscommunication somewhere along the way, or if it was just a ball that got away from Russ. But that ball is way more to the inside of the field than Malik Neighbors was running. Like that ball was way closer to the hash marks, and Malik was like kind of to the sideline a bit there. So I'm not sure if there was a miscommunication or if there was like the timing was off just a little bit or what it was. But hell of a tackle by Malik Neighbors afterwards. Like he played that like it was a safety.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about it too, especially considering how bad the secondary is of Dallas all night long. That can't be your game plan, having Russ drop back 7 yards, throwing it as far as he can for Neighbors. Now, it's going to work against some teams, but lest we forget, toughest schedule in the league, this isn't going to work against most teams. And as we said at the end, it didn't work late.
Yeah, especially when you're going to face teams that, like, look, we can talk about the offensive line and say that they did a relatively good job today of keeping him pretty clean. But you're also talking about a Dallas team that just traded Micah Parsons, doesn't have much pass rush upside outside of that. And you're going to face a lot better teams, a lot better pass rush, way more aggressive game plans. Like Steve Spagnuolo next week is going to just be like, all right, how can I send everyone at Russell Wilson? Like how can I just attack him in any ways possible? Especially, I can tell you now, and we can touch on this later, but I can especially tell you that when you come out with this Cam Scatterbull one side of the backfield, Daniel Bellinger the other side of the backfield, or Theo Johnson, whoever you're going to have there, if you come out with two guys in the backfield on either side of Russell Wilson, Spags is going to send pressure. Like he's going to go right after you. And if you're not prepared for that properly, better teams are going to make you pay big time.
It's amazing how close everything can be. We had this script written, quote unquote script written, several times because the outcome was in doubt, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. At one point, I said, this is going to be a loss just because it's the way the Giants have been playing of late. At one point, I said, you know what? 1-1. If the Chiefs beat the Eagles, we're all 1-1 with the exception of the Cowboys, who would be 0-2. And what happened? Everything got flipped again, and we're 0-2, and we're in the basement, and now we're buried.
And if the Chiefs beat the Eagles, then everyone's 1-1, and the Giants are the only 0-2 team there.
Right.
Yeah, it was like when Dallas scored their last touchdown of regulation. I'll be honest there, for a second, I was like, oh, it might be over. And then I was like, actually, the defense here is just atrocious. So you might still have a chance. I have a friend that's a Cowboys fan that texted me and he's like, hey, they gave you 52 seconds. That was way too much time against this defense. And you didn't even need that long. But I just think that the defense on that final drive wasn't great, or final drive of regulation wasn't great at all. But man, it's just, if you can't come out and play solid football, not exceptional football, but if you can't come out and play solid football when it matters most, yeah, you're going to keep seeing L's just rack up in that column.
That was what I was thinking today. Yeah, we all love Russ. Russ is back. This is the Russ we wanted, but they lost. So I don't care about 450 yards and 3 touchdowns and Neighbors looking great and finally opened up Wandale. I don't care about any of that. They lost to a team that's not that good. So what am I supposed to think? Great, Russ is back?
Yeah, especially when you consider that you got thrown into a 3rd and 17 because of Russ trying to tuck the ball and just sending it backwards, and Cam Scatterwood knocking it out, which is the right play at that time. But
sure,
like we can say that he played fantastic for the majority of the game, but he did have a crucial play late that puts you in a really tough spot there. Not even a manageable situation at that point.
It's one of the things that you would think, if you watch the first 3.5 quarters, that Russ would never let happen today. And he did. It's almost like it's the Giant curse of recent times. It's the one thing he couldn't do. Now, as we saw, 5 possessions in overtime, which is just unheard of in 8.5 or 9 minutes, or however long it took, almost 10 minutes. Point being, I don't know what the point is. The point is that they lost. So I don't care that they played well. There are improvements to be made. But again, the results are all that matters, especially for a regime with Shane and Dable that are coaching for their lives.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you have the Russ played fantastic overall, but those two big mistakes, really. It was the backwards pass to get you 3rd and 17 and the interception, like 2 just killer errors there. There were some plays too where I feel like I do feel like there were certain moments where the receivers kind of, I don't want to say let down Russ, but we had a Malik Neighbors drop that wasn't a fun situation to have. Also Cam Scatterwood kind of took over as running back 1 in this one. We went from not really seeing him at all last week to him taking over as running back 1, 2 catches. I think he had 11 carries. Tyrone Tracy had 4 catches and I think 5 carries as well. But Cam Scatterwood he took over as running back 1 in this situation. But they've also just got to figure out something with this running game, because even if the yardage looks better, look at all of Cam Scatterwood's yards, and they were after contact. Even Tyrone Tracy had more yards after contact than he had yards. Like that's stuff that just can't happen for a team that, again, this isn't a first year regime here. This is, you guys have been here. This is your team. This is year 2 under Carmen Priscilla on the offensive line. This is what you've built, and that's how it looks.
Yeah, the running game is it's non-existent. What's funny is opening kickoff, see Tyrone Tracy returning the kick, and then Devin Singletary takes the first snap on the first possession. I'm thinking, did Tracy run his mouth? Did he get hurt? Did something happen? And to be honest, later in the game with Scatterwood at the 1, I'm thinking he's not a 1. He just isn't. He's not fast enough, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, that was always the thing with Scatterwood, was like I didn't think he was ever going to look like a running back. When the thing, even when he was in college, was, hey, you're not even a D1 running back right now. You got to improve in these areas. You got to lose this bunch of weight. going to Arizona State. You got to lose weight to be even somewhat explosive. He's not an explosive guy, but he's still, I think, going to be a quality running back. I think he's going to be part of a stable that can be impactful and make some big plays, but he's not going to be there. And I will also say, I'm fine with you being a significant part of the game plan, because I think you can pick up the gritty yards. And I think that we're at a point in time in football where you've got these 215-pound linebackers out there. It's like, yeah, if I got a running back that's going to run through your face and love doing it, I'm fine playing him out there. So I don't think Cam's ever going to be, or Cam Scadaboo is ever going to be, a lead back, but interesting that he took more snaps, got more touches, made a bigger impact as well. And I do think that when you have an offensive line that's not getting pushed in the run game for the second week in a row, by the way, that when you have an offensive line that's not getting pushed in the run game, having a running back that can just grind out those tough yards is very valuable for this offense.
I understand it's committee, but my first thought on the first snap of the game was Tyrone Tracy's either in the doghouse or they just think he's not very good. And the fact that Cam Scadaboo basically for the entire second half was the one, surprising. I didn't think I'd see that today.
Yeah, and Devin Singletary playing 4 snaps the entire game after
including the first one.
Yeah, after taking that first one, then just played 3 more snaps. It's interesting how they're setting up, and interesting doesn't need to be a good adjective here, with how they're setting up the running back room right now. And the usage is weird. The run game is weird. I do think that they would benefit more from running counter. I mean, you had Cam Scadaboo had a pretty solid run when you ran GT counter and you actually got some movement up front. You got guys going in space. And I'd like to see more of that. But yeah, this run game just needs to figure out something. I don't think the scheme's working out with them running wise. I think you got to go more gap. And I don't think that, like Tyrone Tracy's not giving you the explosive runs that he gave you last year.
The Giants, believe it or not, ran 22 of the first 25 plays. A big reason why, specifically on that first drive, was the penalties. And I understand we have to break in about 3 minutes, Brandon, but I want to start with it here. Embarrassing. People should at least be put on notice when you have a game like that.
Yeah, that was... Oh, I mean, James Hudson with the 4 in a row is just like, you bring in a backup or you bring in a veteran backup because you expect them to not make the boneheaded mistakes. So like people can talk about how, you take Jackson Dart as your QB2, and sometimes people don't want that because young quarterbacks are more volatile. Young players are more volatile. You want an established Jameis Winston type as your QB2 while you get Jackson Dart ready to go. You brought in James Hudson to be your backup offensive tackle, pretty much, because he can play both sides. So you brought him in to be your backup offensive tackle, and he came in and played some of the worst football we've seen. Like, even when he wasn't committing penalties, he wasn't doing a great job. Gave up a sack still in that 8 or 9 plays that he did play. It was brutal. You don't bring in a veteran to come in and make those mistakes. You bring in a veteran for when your star player isn't available, that you can have, or for when your starter even isn't available. Doesn't need to be a star, but when your starter is not available, that you have someone with a high floor available. They're not supposed to make mistakes. They're not supposed to do this flashy stuff. That's why you see guys where when they're drafted as, oh, he's going to be a boom or bust player, it's usually because if you don't hit as a starter, if you don't hit as a starter quality player, then you're going to be out of the league. Like, you bring in these veterans so that they can be stable and bring some kind of sense of stability and support to this team. And you didn't get that at all for James Hudson, who, by the way, you can get out of the contract after this year, of course. It's nothing backbreaking, but you did give him a multi-year contract, and that kind of should be looked upon as Joe Shane and Brian Dable and Carmen Brasillo even as, what the hell was that?
I was a little confused. I know we talked about it before the show started off air. I was a little bit confused. It seemed like, or at least watching the game, Joe Davis suggested that Dable, first he said, you got to take him out before they even took him out, which was obvious. We were all thinking that. Then he said that Dable actually, I don't know if he grabbed him or he removed him at first. Then he went back in and then he came back out again. And then, of course, we see the dust up or whatever that was. The whole thing was confusing. The Giants are a mess, despite the fact that they almost won a game in Dallas, a place they haven't won in a decade.
Yeah, I would like if we can go one game without an offensive player throwing a hissy fit on the sideline. That would be, especially considering we're in week 2, that would be a really cool thing to experience, just not an offensive player throwing a hissy fit on the sideline during the game, especially in the first half, both times.
Right.
Both times. James Hudson in the first quarter, Malik Neighbors was in the second quarter. I would just like to see, some kind of sense of maturity and stability there from this organization. And from Brian Dable's side of things, some sense of leadership there.
All right, we need to take our first break of the squad show. When we return, we will focus on the receivers, who, of course, had a great day. It was chuck and duck out there, literally, for the Giants receivers. We'll do all of that coming up next. All right, this episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhoods feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Cape May Brewing is in my neighborhood and comes alive every Sunday during football season, so I've been told. Everyone's in team colors. The energy is incredible, and it feels like the entire block is in there cheering together. It's the kind of place where you walk in and everyone knows your name. The staff are like family, and they've been serving this community for years. Spending money there doesn't just support the business, it supports the people behind it and the community around it. Those local spots are what make the neighborhood feel like home. And so many of them run on Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. All right, we are back, and we are ready to focus on the receivers as we teased heading into block number 2. Brandon, just some numbers, because if you look at the numbers, it looked pretty good. Malik Neighbors, 13 targets, 9 catches, 167, and 2 scores. Wan'Dale Robinson, who seemed like he was open all day, 8 for 142 and a score. So essentially 17 catches, 300 yards, and 3 touchdowns between 2 guys. Amazing stuff, even in a loss.
Yeah. I don't think that this offense is equivalent to this at all, but that kind of, hey, we're going to just feed our top targets felt, again, this is not an equivalent offense, but it felt like McVay-ish, where he's just like, hey, I got these 2 guys. I'm going to get them the football, except they did it in a way more aggressive way of saying, hey, we're going to take these deep shots downfield. Kaiir Elam, who I do love, had an awful game in coverage, just absolutely brutal beats. He kind of looked like he played for the Giants, where, you could just throw it in his general vicinity. He's not making a play on the ball. The receiver will. And it kind of just felt like that throughout this entire game. Malik Neighbors, big play. I also will say, thank God we finally saw Wan'Dale Robinson get to run downfield. It's really fun what happens when you have a guy running further than 2 inches past the line of scrimmage. I don't get why they've incessantly decided to keep him right at the line, but got open downfield consistently, made plays downfield consistently. You got to get him the ball in more creative ways than you have been. This is a good start. Again, I know they lost. I know this wasn't a great game overall, but it looked more like what I think many Giants fans were expecting to see this year. Last week we had this conversation where I said Russell Wilson, when he was asked the identity of the offense, said explosive. And last week we didn't get that, even not even a little bit. It just didn't happen. This week it was bombs away, and they were effective. And I think that while while they lost, and that sucks, there are things where you can look at this game and say, all right, they took steps at least. They kept him off his back. They found the deep ball. They got some kind of production deep downfield from Malik Neighbors. They figured some things out. Still a long way to go, but figured some things out.
There were three essentially 50-yard plays. Neighbors had a 48-yarder, Robinson had a 50-yarder, and Darius Slayton, of all people, had a 52-yarder. So essentially, three 50-yard bombs. Question is, to you, Brandon, is that enough? Is that enough? It wasn't today, but looking forward on the schedule, is that enough? Can we just play, chuck it down the field, and hope Neighbors comes up with it every single time? It feels like no.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. There's just no way. I mean, the Darius Slayton one even was, I think that one was against Kaiir Elam as well. And Kaiir just whiffed on what I think he was supposed to be pressing at that point, just whiffed on it. And so Darius Slayton just had wide open space in front of him. Malik Neighbors had his touchdown there late. I want to say Wandale's was also the touchdown deep downfield up the seam again, which they were just abusing. You're not going to face Matt Eberflus every week. That's really what it comes down to, is you're not going to face Matt Eberflus every week. You watch him play, or you watch him coach, and he's just trying to spam cover 3 at you. You know, week 1, they didn't play man coverage a single time, the Cowboys, against the Eagles. I don't know what the stats are going to say about how many times they played man this week, but it's still not going to be a high number. They sat in zone and they got attacked. And if you do that, yeah, you're going to get attacked if you can't pressure Russell Wilson. But other teams are going to be able to do that. When you face the Eagles, they're going to be able to pressure you. The Chiefs are going to be able to pressure you. Other teams are going to be able to do it. You can't just play bombs away football, but next time that the Giants play the Cowboys, we could see more bombs away football, and it could be pretty fun. I know they just signed Jadeveon Clowney after the game, but he's honestly more of a run defender at this point in his career than a pass rusher. So it could be bombs away football again against Dallas. You got to figure out something more sustainable against other teams.
Yeah, what's funny is Dallas, with their ridiculously lousy secondary today, knew the Giants couldn't run the ball. And what were the Giants going to try and do? Go deep. And Russell Wilson was going deep. So Giants can't run. We know Russell Wilson's going to go deep, and Dallas still couldn't stop them.
Yeah, I think that's I don't think there's a better testament to how bad Dallas is personnel-wise right now defensively. They've got no pass rushers, and their secondary is not that good. So I think that, which we will also say, sure, without Deron Bland, maybe that would have helped limit Wandale Robinson genuinely, because he would have been in the slot. He would have been lined up where Wandale Robinson was oftentimes. But even then, it was just brutal. Like, because even if Deron Bland was out there, you still would have had Malik Neighbors lining up against Kaiir Elam frequently, and he would have been winning those reps. He won reps against Trayvon Diggs. With a sick catch in the end zone too. But yeah, I don't think it's a sustainable thing to do at all. We can celebrate how fun it was to watch. At least, again, we spoke about this last week, where if you're going to lose, like, at least make it an entertaining game. And I don't think anybody's going to complain about that one. It was sloppy. It was ugly, but at least it was entertaining. And again, you looked more, honestly, you looked competent, at least this week offensively. And last week, we can't say that at all.
Well, you're going to see a lot of highlights from this game because there were plenty of them. And for what it's worth, and you knew they were going to bring it up, the last NFC East team to go 0-2 and make the playoffs, of course, was the 07 Giants. Remember how bad they were after the Green Bay game, Brett Favre coming in and torching them in week 2. And we all thought the sky was falling and coaches would be fired, players would be cut, players would be traded, players would be let go, and things changed. Something tells me we're not the 2007 Giants here.
But you're saying there's a chance.
No, there is no chance. No chance. Well, I'll say this.
Hell of a pass rush.
Yeah, right. What the interesting thing about today is, and I was pleasantly surprised, was the ability to throw the ball down the field, which the Giants have not been able to do for so long. That being said, as we've said 10 times already in the last 25 minutes, they still lost.
Yeah, I mean, again, you got to figure out something underneath. Also, I don't know, man. I believe in Theo Johnson as a prospect. I'm still waiting for it to happen though, right? I don't know if there was one play where he was running into the end zone ish. I don't know why he didn't turn back and look for the ball, but Russ hit him literally in the head with the football. So I don't know if after that he was kind of out of it for what was happening. but you've also got to figure out something. Like having an offense that is an NFL offense that can't block on screen plays is atrocious. And we saw with Tyrone Tracy in overtime, dumping it off to him, having guys there, and somehow still Cowboys defenders just run right by you and make the play. And you can't be an offense that can't do the simple things. And with modern football, you're going to see offenses throw screens all the time. It's a very prominent part. And part of that is because defenders don't like tackling as much anymore. They just don't. So you run screens and you say, hey, we're going to make you tackle Cam Scatterbo as a 190-pound defensive back. Like we're going to make you make these plays. But if they're getting hit the moment the ball's coming to them, then it's all moved. Like it doesn't matter. You can't get going. You can't sustain anything there. So explosive plays are fun. Now you've got to figure out, because the Chiefs next week, they're going to say, all right, we're going to take away the explosive plays. We're going to pressure you up front. We're not going to give you that time. Figure out something else. And so maybe it is just, hey, we're going to attack underneath over the middle when they blitz. I don't know what the exact plan is going to be, but what you did today, while fun and entertaining, was not sustainable. And I'm also, by the way, tired of seeing 16 play drives end in field goals and just be miserable football there.
Yeah, you can thank the penalties too. That was really the key to that first 16 play drive, was the penalties. It took them 9 to 10 minutes off the clock, and it was because of all the penalties. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was. It was sloppy football. It was just, like, there's no other way to put it. It was just sloppy, disgusting football out there.
Yeah. All right, let's do Dart. I actually agree with Joe Davis. He said it felt forced the first time they put him in. In this type of game, again, forced is the perfect word. Can't think of a word better than that. I agree with Joe. It was forced.
Yeah, I am a fan of saying, hey, we're going to have these packages for him. I'm a fan of trying to implement them. I'm not a fan of bringing in a guy for one play and then taking him out. I do think that you got to give him, a couple plays, a couple looks. You got to let him go out there and just get some kind of rhythm. Instead, you brought him in, 3 times? He handed it off twice.
And
third time he kept it himself on a 2nd and 1 and tripped, and then you were in 3rd and 4 situation. That's not a good spot to be in. Also, I thought about this last week. I hate how they handle 2nd downs sometimes. 2nd and 1 is prime, let's take a shot territory, because then if it's an incompletion, then you figure, hey, we got another down to get a yard, or 2 downs to get a yard, and we can go for that. And last week it was a bunch of 2nd and 10 runs, and I hate that. That's loser mentality. You're not going to win football games doing that. I don't know what their plan is on 2nd down, but it's awful. Needs to be better there. And I do think if you're going to bring in Jackson Dart, you have to do it right. Like he's not getting better because you're bringing him in to hand the ball off. You got to do something to let him throw a football.
It's kind of funny. They were out of the game for most of last week, and he didn't sniff the game. They were in the game with a chance to win multiple times, and he's in there. And again, it didn't really impact the outcome in any way. He did trip and lose a couple of yards on that one play. But point being, as Joe Davis said, it felt for it to me. There was no reason for it. There was no trickery. There was no catching the Cowboys off guard. There was none of that. It just felt like it was have Dart give somebody the ball. It felt weird.
Yeah, I think they were kind of just like, all right, look, everyone's going to complain about Jackson Dart. Everyone's going to complain about Russell Wilson. We're going to let Russ play a great game. And then here, take Jackson Dart and shut the hell up a little bit. And it kind of felt like that was their approach of just like, take Jackson Dart. We're going to put him on the field.
All right, let's do the defense next after a quick break. Obviously, things were not good yardage-wise, scoring-wise, and mistakes were made. We'll do the defense coming up next. All right, folks, we will start with DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered. Well, powered by DoorDash, just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Obviously, for the Giants, it was Russell Wilson. He delivered in a big way. Over 400 yards passing. When the pressure was on, he came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Wilson is on a streak. And just like Russ delivered for the Giants, almost, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you save every Saturday. So stack it all up. You could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. All right, we are back and we are ready, Brandon and I, as we continue the squad show. We're halfway home. We are ready to pick on the defense because they were terrible. Obviously, the running game was bad. Obviously, the defense in spots was terrible as well. Huge numbers for Dallas. Obviously, Dak, 361 through the air. CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson over the middle. Big picture, your thoughts on the defense. Obviously, letting up 40 points was terrible. But again, as you said, and we've said multiple times today, at least they're in this game.
Yeah, I think part of it was I don't think that a lot of guys are, how do I put this, enthusiastic about run defense at certain points. Like the Javonte Williams touchdown run they ran, GY counter, and he just had daylight. I don't know what their plan was, what the thought was. But I think that there's way too much effectiveness for opposing teams running the football against this Giants defense. I do think that there were some bright sides, some bright spots to it. I thought that Drew Phillips, for the most part, played well. It was just he made a few mistakes that were really bad. Like there's just no other way to put it with the pass interferences. Like that was one thing too with this team where so many like we can talk about the offensive penalties too, but they had 12 defensive penalties in this game as well, and that's just like what are we doing there? I don't get it. Roy Robertson Harris had 3 penalties. Drew Phillips had 2. Abdul Carter had 2. Deontay Banks had 2. I don't know what we're doing here where we're losing the plot of fundamental football completely. We're not tackling against the run. We're not playing clean coverage. We're not playing clean defense at all. Stuff like that. It doesn't matter if like Brian Burns has been playing out of his mind these first 2 weeks. I think he's played great. We watched him play off-ball linebacker today, drop into coverage and make a tackle for a loss on a swing to the running back. Like we've seen some great stuff from Brian Burns. Kayvon Thibodeau had a great stop against the run late in the game. Like we've seen some bright spots. But if you've got 12 defensive penalties and half of them got declined anyway because there were bigger gains there. But if you got 12 defensive penalties, like what are we doing coaching wise that's happening? Because that's just sloppy. Like I don't think I've ever seen that from a single defense, 12 penalties in one game.
It's funny. We're at a disadvantage because we go live right after the game. So we don't get a chance, or at least I didn't get a chance to listen to Brian Dable. I cannot imagine the deflecting that he had to do in that post-game presser, considering how much blame there is to go around.
Yeah, and it was also, there was one play, I think it was Drew Phillips broke up a pass with PI, and he didn't realize the flags got thrown, and he was thumbs downing and throwing the incompletion, and then he turns around and sees it. It's like stuff like that. It's just, it's funny in hindsight, or at least I'll say it's funny because I do think it's entertaining at least to watch moments like that. But I don't know, they played bad football. Like I don't think that, again, and we spoke about this last week, you've got guys that are making plays because you have Brian Burns making plays. You have Kayvon Thibodeau making plays. You've got Dexter Lawrence out there. You've got Javon Holland played a much better game in week 2 than he played in week 1. You've got guys stepping up and making plays and making impacts, but you're just still, and also for, I think most of the game, Cordell Flott played pretty well. I liked how he played in coverage, better than we've seen from Deontay Banks in recent years, I guess we'll say, or the past 16 months, whatever. But man, you can't play stupid, and that's really what it is. And I recognize I could say that, and all of these defenders can physically snap me in half, but they played stupid, and there's no other way to describe it. When you watch them just be undisciplined and reckless, you're not going to win a damn thing doing that.
I want to focus in on two players in particular. We'll start with Abdul Carter. Had the punt block last week, almost had a second punt block. Obviously was a huge piece of the Drew Phillips interception. He forced that essentially. Other than that, I cannot think of one time in 2 games they mentioned Abdul Carter's name.
Yeah, little bit of a boomer bust guy right now. Like little bit of a boomer bust guy that's not getting the booms as we're watching it happen. I do think that against Washington, some of it was, they had him as a spy sometimes, which I guess a spy is not really making plays. Like his whole job is to basically say, hey, I'm not making a play, but neither is your quarterback with his legs.
Right.
There was a play against Dallas where I don't know if he was afraid to, and maybe afraid's a bad word to use, but I don't know if he was maybe afraid of giving up outside contain if he did decide to rush Dak, but he also just waited outside of the offensive tackle instead of doing it. Like, I do think that you've got to, even if you're containing, you need to be engaged in offensive tackle, and you need to be trying to make some kind of play where you can just push the pocket a little bit, put a little bit of not necessarily pressure, but basically show the quarterback, hey, I'm a threat at least. Instead, you just stood there, and Dak was like, all right, well, no one's coming to brush me from the right side because there's only Abdul Carter there, and he's just standing there menacingly. And so I think there's some things where he's also just still learning how to play. In college, he was asked to do a million things, but he was also more athletic than basically everybody. And they just went, hey, just go out there and just wreak havoc if you see it available. You don't get to really do that in the NFL unless you play for Bill Belichick and your name is Jamie Collins. Then sure, you're allowed to do that. Anybody else, that's not a privilege that you have.
It's funny. I'm just thinking about how he's been in the league for 10 minutes, Abdul Carter. He dominated in college. We expected that. Perhaps that's unfair. Perhaps he's just not the player he was. Now, again, it's been 2 games. It's been 10 minutes. It's September, 14th. So chill out, Jay. That being said, we all thought he was going to be a presence right away. I know I did.
Yeah. And I will say this also, there were a couple of plays where he rushed to the center, and I need to see more of that because I can't think of a center that's going to get hands on him and make a play where he could just dip and rip under these guys. Especially like once Cooper Beebe went out, they should have gone attacking him. Like they should have just gone right at him, right at the entire interior, really, because double teams are thrown off. It's guys not used to playing with each other. There were opportunities there to make more plays. I do think that, and look, like he played a lot this week. That was one thing that a lot of people were talking about was, oh, he's not playing enough. He played more than Kayvon this week. He played more. So he's playing a ton out there. It's just not clicking yet. And I'm not concerned about it at all because it's week 2. But there are just some things that need to improve. I do think that when they ran toward him, he didn't make plays. And part of that is going to be, which we can also have the conversation of, is it possible that they kind of threw the book at him a little too much? Because like, again, they're like, hey, we're going to use you everywhere. And it's like, that might be great. And for the first month, I think you're going to keep seeing that. And then once you got a month of film on him and you figured out, hey, he worked doing this, he didn't work doing this, then maybe you kind of narrow down the role a little bit of, we're not going to line him up as much off ball. We're going to keep him more on the edge. We're going to kind of use him on stunts and twists and make plays that way. But there are some things where you just got to figure it out. I do think it's going to take a little bit, but once you find the sweet spot for how he's effective as a rookie, I think then you can start really hammering that home and working your entire pass rush plan around how can we get these guys on the field all at once and be effective without being, it's Dex and then a bunch of light guys that are going to get moved around.
If you watch any other game in the NFL and there's a play made on defense by an interior defensive tackle, whatever, the announcer always says, well, look, he's on, I guess, par with Dexter Lawrence. That being said, because Dexter Lawrence, we all consider the best interior defensive player in the sport, hasn't been for 2 weeks. I saw him make one play today. Remind me if I'm wrong, but Dex has been quiet.
Yeah, been pretty quiet. I think that he's, how do I put this? I feel like he's done a decent job of maybe pushing the pocket a little bit. I do think that part of his aura and part of his presence is that opposing offenses need to game plan for him. And I think that's his big selling point, right? Like I do think that it's not about, is he making these plays? It's, if you single team him, he's going to make these plays. But I think opposing offenses right now, you can't really play a single blocker on Dexter Lawrence. You've got to put more guys out there. And that was one of the big selling points when you drafted Abdul Carter, when you drafted Darius Alexander. It was, okay, well, Dex is going to be at least double teamed, maybe triple teamed. It's up to the other guys to make plays off of that. And I don't think that we've seen the plays from Dex. I think we're back to a point where Dex is getting the respect that he very much deserves. And so he's not going to continue to make those plays on a consistent basis. But if a team ever makes the dumb decision of putting one single blocker on him, he's going to destroy them, especially with how light centers are now. He's going to eat that center for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and dessert, and then go back for another midnight snack and keep kicking ass the whole time.
All right, let's focus in on the secondary because, as you can imagine, we saw a lot of it today. Phillips, Flott, and Banks. Saw a lot of Banks today, saw a lot of Phillips today. Not as much of Flott. Now, that just may be a TV thing, but a big picture for those three, your assessment of how the day went.
I liked how Cordell Flott played in coverage. I think that he's someone that a lot of people, like when he got drafted, I knew him from the LSU days as Cordell Slot. Like that's what he was. And then now he's playing on the outside. He's playing, I think, better than a lot of people anticipated. I was really low on him playing in the slot. I think that against Dallas, and we'll know when the All-22 becomes available tomorrow, we'll know. But I thought he played pretty well considering going up against two talented receivers in CD and George Pickens. Or I don't even want to say two talented receivers. One talented receiver in CD Lamb and one just NFL young boy in George Pickens. That's the only way I can think of to describe him. And so I think he did a good job handling there. I think Drew Phillips is, again, he made some boneheaded mistakes. The penalties were not good. But I think he's quickly developing into one of the better nickels in the league right now.
Yeah.
And nickel's the hardest position in football for me outside of quarterback. I was never a great athlete, played corner, played safety, tried nickel. And I was like, oh, no, I'm out. I can't do it. I need someone else to step in there. I'm not like that. Drew Phillips is like that for someone that also was rotationally a nickel in college.
It's funny because it's hard to judge from TV. It's a completely different experience when you're watching in person or in a press box, whatever. We saw a lot of Phillips today, good and bad. Now, part of me says, well, he's a ball hawk, so wherever the ball was, he was. The other part of me is there were penalties, there were mistakes. So which is it, or is it both?
I think it's both, especially when you're going to play Dallas. That's going to continue happening because you're going to see Jake Ferguson is a glorified slot receiver at this point. Not a great. I mean, I do think he played a decent role blocking today, but hasn't been a great blocker. You're going to see CeeDee Lamb lined up against Drew Phillips in the slot. That's going to happen a lot. But I do think that when you saw him on Jalen Tolbert, did a decent job. We saw Drew Phillips go out there and play man coverage on CeeDee Lamb, force an incompletion. We saw Drew Phillips go out there, play man coverage against George Pickens, and force an incompletion. Like we saw him go out there and make some plays. The pick was on CeeDee Lamb. Like that's what it was. It was stuff like that where we saw him go out there and make plays. The good, I think with every player, you're going to see the good and the bad. You saw some bad from Drew Phillips today that was mostly just I don't even want to say undisciplined in the sense of watching like James Hudson. I think it was him just trying to be more physical with guys like CeeDee and George Pickens. And when you're going to be more physical, you're going to get those calls against you. But I don't think that the bad from Drew Phillips wasn't very concerning for me. I think the good was stuff that you see on film and you're just seeing it more now. And so for me, I look at that and I go, all right, he's really putting it together in year two in the nickel.
All right, we have one final break to take, and then we get to size up the Kansas City Chiefs, which feels like a team you don't want to see right now. Regardless, we'll do it all coming up next. All right, to FanDuel we go, where the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, we are back, and we are looking forward to the Kansas City Chiefs. Not really.
I don't know about that
one. And, of course, it's in primetime so that the entire world can watch. Whatever happens, happens. Your thoughts moving in. I don't know what's happening with the Chiefs and the Eagles right now. If we separate that from the conversation moving forward, assuming there are no major injuries, how in the world do the Giants keep it close with the Chiefs?
I think the most important thing is taking away the deep ball from Patrick Mahomes. They're tied 10-10 right now at halftime. But I think taking away the deep ball from Patrick Mahomes, that's been the thing with Patrick Mahomes, is that for the past, 4 or 5 years, it's been, hey, take away the deep ball, make him work underneath. And where he took the next step to really become the best quarterback on the planet was he started taking the deep ball. Like I know that there's nerds on Twitter that go, oh, well, actually his average depth of target is only 4.5 yards. Yeah, because that's what the defense is giving him, and he's taking that and winning games because of it. So That's exactly it. But I think right now the receiving core in Kansas City is worse than it's been in a long time. You've got, Hollywood Brown is nothing but speed. He's not, he'll shake people, but he's not really breaking tackles or anything. You've got Tyquan Thornton running deep downfield. You've got Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, they don't have anything other than deep threats, and Juju's more of a slot, just chunk or underneath yardage guy. But Tyquan Thornton, Hollywood Brown, all they are is they're going to go deep. If Xavier Worthy plays in this game, then we'll see what's going on with that, but doesn't sound likely from Chiefs reporting this week. In which case, if he does play, you got to watch for more gadget plays. But outside of that, he's also not someone that is going to create that separation. I think you got to just take away the deep ball, let Patrick Mahomes take the underneath, because as good as he is, he still tries to force that. Even when it's not there, he still tries to go, hey, like, chicks dig the long ball, so do I. I'm going to take the deep shot there. And so he'll still try to force that. You just got to make that not available to him and capitalize when he does try to make it happen. I'll be very interested to see how they handle Travis Kelce, who looks a bit better than he has in recent years. He looks slimmed down. Also, he had the opposite of relationship weight. He got engaged and everything, and he's like, okay, all of a sudden I'm good at football again. Probably trying to end his career on a positive note. The biggest thing, though, is that the Chiefs have Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, and both of them are physical as hell. Kareem Hunt has lost a few steps since he was younger, pretty much. It's, the wear and tear. And I went to college with him. He was taking hits after hit after hit at Toledo. He was the offense for a bit there. But he's lost a step. He's not giving you explosive plays anymore. And I'm sure he's about to run for a 70-yard touchdown once I said that now. But I think that the big thing is you've got a run defense specifically, that hasn't been super interested in being physical. And now you've got the Chiefs running backs who are going to be really physical with you.
It's funny. You mentioned Jake Ferguson and how, at least in this game, he was a glorified slot receiver, 12 targets, 9 for 78. Now, that being said, we've seen Dallas tight ends kill the Giants for years and years and years and years. And I understand that Kelce's not what he was. That scares me down the middle in Kelce territory. That feels like a long night.
Yeah, I mean, Kelsey is the ultimate. Like, I hate when people even talk about him being a tight end because he hasn't played tight end in years. He's been a slot receiver for years. He's a power slot. He's maybe the best power slot we've ever seen in football, but he's a power slot. And the thing is, with those kinds of guys, you're going to have a tough time handling him because you're going to play zone coverage a lot. And when you play that zone coverage, he's going to find the soft spot. And especially Travis Kelsey, like, I don't even know if they tell him what routes to run. I kind of feel like they're just like, hey, man, just run in any direction. Like, they just go straight up at the park. They're like, let's just run in any direction. I'll hit you. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Even after he has the ball, they have no idea what he's going to do. He lateraled it to Kadarius Toney a couple years ago. He just does things that you can't explain, but it makes him incredibly difficult to handle. It's like when fighters got to deal with like Max Holloway and he's just doing a whole bunch of wild things. It's like you don't know how to stop it because he's doing things that don't make sense, but they're effective as hell.
It's also interesting. And again, the Giants lose to the Cowboys 40-37, Big Blue 0-2, Dallas 1-1, Washington 1-1. And we'll have to see about the Eagles who are facing the Chiefs as we speak. Got to do Dart because before the season started, I suggested or predicted, and I'm not hiding behind it, the Giants would be 0-2. Russell Wilson would be benched after the first half of the Kansas City game, week 3. Now, that being said, Russell Wilson is not getting benched. We know that. But Dart's going to play at some point, especially if they keep losing. Is it Kansas City? Is it LA the next week with the Chargers? Is it the Saints after that? I mean, when is it?
I mean, if there's ever a game that you want to play him against, it's the Saints, where you can kind of go, hey, like they're going to stink, right? We might as well try to figure out what he's going to look like on a, I guess, elevated playing field, since that will be one of the few games where I think the Giants are better than their opposition, especially early in the season. But I think that what you've got to do is just keep, when you put him on the field and when you give him those packages, give him more than one play of handing the ball off. Even if you want to go, hey, you're going to be out there for 3 plays, you're handing it off for 2 of them. Just something where it's not, okay, they brought in Jackson Dart, they're going to run a zone read or an RPO, and that's all we're going to see, because that's what he did in college, right? And that's the whole thing. But everybody was like, oh, well, he played in that gimmicky offense. I don't give a damn about the gimmicky offense. I'm going to be honest with you. Put him on the field, let him make plays. I don't care if you just go, hey, we're going to put you on the field. The play call is Malik Neighbors is running straight. Go ahead. And like, that's like something to be threatening with him, because if you're putting him on the field to just have him hand it off, no one gives a damn. It's useless.
Yeah, again, I'm stealing the word because it fits perfectly. It was forced today and I didn't like it. As for next week, I don't think Dart's going to play, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Russell was so good today, with the exception of the interception, obviously. But we've seen teams in New York get booed in any sport at any point in the season. Giants are going to get booed against the Chiefs because the Chiefs are going to take a lead early. You just know it. They're going to get booed. Does that lead Dable to, I guess, pull the trigger on Dart?
I hope not, honestly. I feel like that's, and I hate saying this just because I hate saying it, but I think that's a loser mentality as a coach. Like, as a coach, to go, yeah, I'm going to get bullied into playing this kid. Like you play whoever gives you the best chance to win, not whoever gives you the best chance to be liked. Because when it comes down to it, no one cares how liked you are. If you're going to get fired, you're going to get fired. And if you're going to get fired, it's because you're losing games. If you're losing games, they're not going to like you anyway. So playing Jackson Dart isn't going to make you liked. It's just going to make the experience less miserable for Giants fans. So I really would hate it if it's like, oh, well, we're getting booed. Let me put in Jackson Dart. Like, put him in when you think he gives you the best chance to win, or if you're trying to just take the defense off guard, things like that, that's okay. But if you're going to play him and play him, do it when you think he gives you a better chance to win than Russell Wilson, because especially now, you're going to get fired if you're not winning games. Yeah,
and maybe that's the Saints, as you said, in week 5 in New Orleans. The problem is, what if they're 0-4?
I mean, might not be him making that decision at that point if they're 0-4.
Well, that's my point about the booing and the angst towards one particular player and the wanting of another particular player, and then the booing again. It all makes it very quick. When they talk about in life, you need to slow things down. The opposite is happening to Dable and Shane at this point in time. everything's going so fast and they can't seem to settle it down.
Yeah, I mean, it just sucks, honestly. It does, because I feel like we talk about this team and this coaching staff, and like I like the coaching staff from a personality standpoint. Like I do. I liked the hire when it happened of Brian Dable, but you've got to get your guys ready to go week in, week out. I see Kenneth Brown in the chat said he's also a Giants and Florida fan. So you know how it feels to have guys that like have a head coach that can't get guys ready to go week in and week out. We've got plenty of experience with that. And I think that with Brian Dable, he hasn't been able to get them ready to go week in, week out. This game was a loss against Dallas. Dallas is not a good team. But again, I do hope that people can look at it and say, you lost the game. You didn't look great, but you looked better. And I do think that, yeah, it's a weird time in year 4 to go, oh, well, you looked better. But realistically, this is still a long season. Jackson Dart should be getting reps periodically, situationally, according to the script, however you want to describe it, should be getting those reps. But as far as being essentially bullied into playing someone, you can't let that happen, because especially once you do that, no one is going to respect you. Players, coaches, front office, fans, no one's going to respect you for whatever respect they do still have for you.
As I said to you earlier, and I was thinking it before, I woke up today and I said, I can't believe I got to do 4 more hours of this. And you know what? It's exactly, I mean, I don't know. It's sad because for a long time, the Giants weren't this team. They weren't this organization. And for some reason, no matter what they do, it always results in a loss, no matter what.
Yeah, it's tough to watch a team, again, start to put things together, and then really for most of the game, the offense looked pretty good, which stunned considering what we saw last week. And it sucks that we can't go out here and go, hey, they kept Russ relatively clean. They made some plays when they needed to. Receivers made their plays. Marcus and Bo looked really good considering how he was thrown into the lineup without any expectation of that. But you lost to Dallas in a game where you held the lead with, 30 seconds left, went to overtime, lost in miserable fashion. It sucks, but again, it just feels like that's what Giants football is now. And I think both of us long for the days where that's not the case with this organization.
Yeah, and it just doesn't feel like this is the 07 Giants either. There's no Strahan here. And I think that's a big picture thing. The Giants, and I think I used this analogy earlier in the week, the Giants are not the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Chicago White Sox with zero talent. The Giants have high-end talent. It makes me think that the guys that aren't the high-end talent are really below average.
Yeah, and you're not wrong there. This is a roster that, when Joe Shane took over, it was an awful roster. I think everybody knew, hey, this was going to take more than one offseason to turn around, more than one draft class, more than one set of free agency. But you had that 2023 draft, looking back in hindsight, sucked overall. As an overall draft class, it stunk. When you had a roster that wasn't good, and look, those guys that you drafted were better than what you had on the roster, right? They still weren't good football players. They still weren't quality football players. And so you improved, but better than absolute garbage is still pretty bad. And that's not where you want to be as a team that is looking to win, as an organization that's looking to win. And at this point, there's no excuses for who's on the roster, why they're on the roster, any of that. It's what you built. Like, you look in the mirror, and that's it. Like that's you. This is your team. This is no longer, oh, we got some little remnants of past coaches and past front office members. Nope, this is you. That's all it is.
How do you think this plays out? You think we see Dart before New Orleans? I'm saying yes. I think I do.
I don't. I don't. I also partially because I don't think that they'd want to throw him to the wolves when it's probably going to get like if you're losing these games, it's probably going to get ugly at some point. And I think part of it might be, hey, let's not throw him to the wolves and shoot his confidence down.
I also wonder, and we can finish on this. I wonder that the Giants, despite the fact that they played well and they kept us interested today, still lost, as we said, but are they closer to being better? And I don't think so. Not that I'm rooting for tank job or anything like that, but maybe the core is rotten. And maybe if they stunk today, we'd be closer to fixing it than, well, maybe Russ gives us a chance.
Yeah, maybe. I will say this. I think they're closer to being better. I don't think they're close at all to being good. I think that we're still at a point where it's like, all right, well, you were absolute hot garbage, and now I don't think you're absolute hot garbage. I think you've got some upside here.
Right.
But I still don't think you're a good team. When I say, oh yeah, they're better, I'm thinking like at best, they're probably going to be at the absolute best, 22nd best team in the league. That's still a top 10 pick. Like that's what we're talking about when we talk about what they can be. I think based on these first 2 weeks, that's what you're looking at.
It's also funny how, and me included, we just assume that Dart's going to be great. Just put him in there and let's win some games and we'll go to the playoffs and it'll be Eli all over again. Maybe he's not good either.
Yeah, maybe not. I have said this a billion times before. I think video games ruined how a lot of people look at developing players where, and I've played Madden and NCAA all my life. And I go, okay, well, there's no downside to playing people early. You get a young player with speed and you go, all right, I'm going to play him and I'm going to force feed him the ball and he's going to get better because he's playing. And that's how the experience system works in the game, is that you play, you get better no matter what. Actuality, you play, other teams know how you play. They get film on you. And if you don't adapt, then you die. You go out there and you aren't good from week one and your confidence gets shot and your success of your team, your success of your career dies out there. So there's plenty of opportunities and there's plenty of ways to fail. I think that the drafting of Jackson Dart was built around, he's got these physical tools. Yes, he comes from we'll say gimmicky offense at Ole Miss. But my thing with that has always been he ran that offense to perfection. Like he did what he was asked to perfection. That's one of the reasons I'm very confident in him, is that he's got the physical tools. And I understand that he played in a gimmicky offense. He did everything that was asked for him and executed it at a high level. I got to feel that if you add more to his plate, he's still capable of doing that.
All right, Brandon, we made it. An hour has gone by and we are done for the day. Unfortunately, it comes after another Giant loss. Hopefully that will change next week, but you never know. It's the Sunday nighter and Giants stink right now, so we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, last week you got the NFC East preview, and it's not too late to binge every Locked On Division preview. Be the most informed NFL fan in an 8-episode series, bringing you every division winner, breakout star, and Super Bowl contender. Find the link in the description to the Locked On NFL playlist on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Again, Giants lose 40-37 in overtime in what can only be described as a wild game. It was a wild hour here on the New York Giants Squad Show. For Brandon, I'm Jay. We'll see you on Thursday. Take care.